The bathroom light is already on, a soft yellow circle against the tiled wall, and the mirror holds a quiet reflection that does not ask for anything. A bill lies folded on the edge of the sink, slightly damp from the steam, its numbers waiting in silence while a warm cup rests in your hand, sending a small breath of heat into your fingers. In the other room, a basket of clothes waits to be folded, cotton and sleeves spilling gently over the side, as if the evening has simply paused there between one task and the next. The water in the sink runs for a moment longer than needed, and the sound fills the small space without hurry, while the paper is smoothed once more before one shirt is lifted from the basket and folded slowly. The mirror fogs again, softening the outline of your face until it looks almost like someone you used to know, someone who once counted money more carefully and did not feel the small tightening in the chest when envelopes arrived. The bill is opened this time, not dramatically, just a quiet unfolding of paper above the sink, and the numbers sit there plainly under the bathroom light as the warm cup leaves a faint circle on the counter. Steam rises and disappears. The tiles under your feet hold a steady coolness, and in the basket by the door, shirts and small socks lean against each other in patient silence. There are evenings when comparison slips in without knocking, carried in through the screen of a message or a passing thought about who seems to be doing better, earning more, traveling farther. It does not shout. It simply lingers near the edge of the mirror, hovering beside the reflection as if it belongs there too. The bill is turned once in your hand, and the sound of paper brushing paper feels louder than it should in such a small room, while the warm cup is lifted again, its heat pressing gently into your palms. In the hallway outside, a child's drawing is taped slightly crooked to the wall, bright crayon lines against neutral paint, and for a moment the mind moves between numbers on the page and that uneven sun drawn in yellow. The thought does not become a lesson. It simply stays there, balanced between sink and doorway. The water is turned off at last, leaving behind a thin quiet that feels almost fragile, and the basket of laundry is carried into the bedroom where the bedspread lies flat and waiting. Fabric brushes against fabric as one shirt is laid out and folded along its seams, the motion small and practiced, not hurried, not slow. The bill rests on the nightstand now, half hidden under the edge of a book, as if it too needs a place to lie down for the evening. The warm cup follows, set down carefully, leaving behind a trace of heat in the air. Outside the window, distant traffic hums in a low, steady line, but inside the room the rhythm is different, contained within the simple act of aligning sleeves and smoothing cotton. Sometimes the measuring happens in the quietest ways, not through grand comparisons but in the small tallying of what has been done and what remains unfinished. A mirror, a stack of folded clothes, a paper with due dates printed clearly across the top. The body stands between these things, breathing in the soft scent of soap that still clings to the laundry, feeling the gentle weight of fabric in the hands. Nothing here is extraordinary. Nothing announces itself as enough. Another shirt is lifted, shaken lightly once to release its wrinkles, and placed carefully on the growing stack at the corner of the bed. The numbers on the bill have not changed. The room has not grown larger. Yet the simple movement of folding and placing begins to gather a different kind of order, one that does not depend on comparison charts or imagined milestones. The warm cup is almost empty now, its heat fading, leaving only the quiet weight of ceramic against the wood surface. In the bathroom, the mirror has cleared completely, reflecting the doorway and the soft yellow light beyond, and the folded stack rises slowly, piece by piece, under steady hands that do not rush to finish. The paper waits where it was set down. The evening continues in its ordinary way. And another item is lifted from the basket and folded once more. The bedroom window is slightly open, and a thin thread of evening air moves the curtain just enough to remind you that the world outside continues without noticing the stack of folded shirts growing quietly on the bed. The bill remains under the corner of the book, its edge visible if you look for it, though for now the eyes rest instead on the straightened lines of fabric. The warm cup sits nearby, nearly cool, a faint trace of heat still held in its sides. The room feels ordinary, and that ordinariness has its own weight. Laundry has a way of slowing the body down. Each piece asks for two hands, a small shake, a careful alignment of edges that do not always match perfectly. In the background, the soft hum of distant traffic blends with the quiet of the house, and for a moment there is no measuring at all, only cotton against skin and the steady rhythm of breath. The numbers on the folded paper do not disappear. They simply wait. It is easy, sometimes, to imagine other rooms in other homes where bills are smaller or incomes larger, where comparisons tilt in a more comforting direction. The mind can build those rooms quickly, furnishing them with imagined ease. Yet here, in this space with its slightly uneven curtain rod and the faint scuff on the wooden floor, the real evening is unfolding without spectacle. A sleeve is smoothed flat. A collar is straightened. The warm cup is lifted once more, and though the drink has cooled, the habit of holding it lingers, fingers curling around ceramic as if to steady something invisible. The mirror in the bathroom across the hall reflects only a narrow strip of light now, a small glow that does not intrude. The bill is not picked up again. It remains where it was set, neither ignored nor confronted, simply present among other present things. There are responsibilities that stretch quietly through adulthood, threads that connect one month to the next without ceremony. Payments made. Groceries bought. Children's shoes replaced when the soles wear thin. None of these actions shine brightly when held up against someone else's milestones. They do not gather applause. Yet they continue, steady as the folding of another shirt and the placing of it carefully on the stack. The room grows a little darker as evening settles further, and the shapes of furniture soften at the edges. The stack of clothes has risen to a modest height, not impressive, not insignificant. The body moves without hurry, aware of the gentle tug in the shoulders, the slight ache in the lower back from standing too long on cool tiles earlier. Nothing dramatic occurs. The bill does not change color. The cup does not refill itself. Comparison drifts in again, quieter this time, less certain of its place. It hovers near the thought of someone else's vacation photos or career announcements, then dissolves against the simple sight of neatly folded fabric. There is something steady in this repetition, something that does not need to compete. The hands continue their small work, attentive to seams and corners, feeling the soft texture under the fingertips. In the hallway, the light from the bathroom flickers off as if someone has gently turned the switch without thinking much about it. The bedroom is left in a dimmer glow, enough to see but not enough to examine closely. The bill remains under the book, a quiet square of paper waiting for morning clarity. And another piece of clothing is lifted from the basket and folded carefully into place. The basket is lighter now, its sides no longer bowing outward, and the bed holds a careful stack that leans slightly toward the pillow. The room has quieted in a different way, as if the air itself has settled lower, closer to the floor. The warm cup has been moved to the nightstand beside the half-hidden bill, and both rest there without asking to be touched again. The mirror in the bathroom reflects only darkness now, a faint outline of the doorway and nothing more. In this softer part of the evening, the measuring feels less sharp. It does not press against the chest in the same way. It drifts instead, like steam that once rose from the sink and then disappeared against the ceiling. The thought of who is ahead and who is behind loses some of its edges when held next to the simple fact of folded clothes stacked evenly at the foot of the bed. The body lowers onto the mattress for a moment, not to sleep yet, just to sit. The weight of the day rests in the shoulders, in the hands that have sorted paper and fabric and worries without making a show of it. The bill remains unopened again since the last glance, its presence acknowledged but not examined. A small exhale moves through the room and fades into the dim light. Sometimes gratitude does not arrive as a bright feeling. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed, in the space between two ordinary actions. The steady hum of distant traffic outside the window becomes part of the background, not something to compete with. The warm cup, now completely cool, still carries the faint scent of tea, and the air feels slightly softer than it did an hour ago. The mind wanders briefly to other bathrooms, other bedrooms, imagined lives arranged more neatly, incomes flowing more easily, decisions made with less hesitation. These images appear and pass without much effort. The real room remains here, with its slightly uneven stack of folded shirts and the faint crease left in the bedspread where you sit. Nothing here shines. Nothing needs to. The hands reach toward the basket again, finding only 1 or 2 remaining items at the bottom. The fabric is lighter now, a small towel perhaps, still carrying the clean scent of soap from earlier in the evening. It is folded slowly, corners matched as closely as they can be, and placed on top of the stack without ceremony. The motion feels familiar, almost soothing in its predictability. The bill on the nightstand shifts slightly when the book above it is nudged by accident, revealing more of the printed numbers beneath. They are still there. They have not grown smaller in the dark. Yet in this quieter rhythm, they do not seem to define the room. They are one object among many, resting beside a cup, near a folded stack of cotton and linen. Outside, a car passes with a soft wash of sound that fades quickly, leaving behind the thin silence of late evening. The body remains seated for a moment longer, noticing the gentle ache in the legs from standing earlier on cool bathroom tiles. Nothing dramatic changes. No sudden clarity appears. The stack of clothes stands quietly at the foot of the bed, and the last small item from the basket is folded and set carefully on top. The house has grown quieter, the kind of quiet that feels layered rather than empty, as if the walls themselves are resting after holding the sounds of the day. The folded stack at the foot of the bed stands in soft shadow, edges no longer sharp under the dim light. The bill remains on the nightstand, partially visible beneath the book, its presence steady and unchanged. The warm cup sits beside it, a simple circle of ceramic in the half-dark. There is a moment when the body leans back against the headboard, not fully reclining, just allowing the spine to rest for a breath or two. The mattress dips slightly under the shift of weight. In this pause, the measuring voice that once compared numbers and progress grows faint, as though it has stepped outside the room and closed the door behind it. The air feels still enough to notice the small sound of fabric settling as the stack adjusts almost imperceptibly. Gratitude does not speak loudly here. It does not arrive with a list of reasons or a clear explanation. It moves more like a quiet acknowledgement that this room, with its folded clothes and unpaid paper, exists as it is, holding both effort and imperfection together. The body notices the faint scent of soap lingering in the cotton, the warmth that once lived in the cup now gone but remembered in the palms. The bathroom door across the hall remains slightly ajar, a thin strip of darkness where the light used to be. Earlier, the mirror held a face clouded by steam. Now it reflects nothing visible from this angle, only the absence of glare. The memory of that reflection lingers, not as a judgment but as a simple image, a person standing under soft yellow light, holding a folded bill above a sink that ran a little longer than necessary. In the dimness, the bill seems less like a verdict and more like a small piece of paper among other small things. Its numbers are real. Its due date is real. Yet it shares the same surface as a book, a cooling cup, and the quiet nightstand that supports them all without preference. The room does not rearrange itself according to income. It simply holds what has been placed within it. The hands reach out once more toward the stack, not to refold or correct, but to straighten a corner that has slipped slightly out of line. The motion is gentle, almost absent-minded. There is no need for perfection in this hour. The fabric responds softly, bending where it is guided, and then resting again without protest. Outside the window, the traffic has thinned to occasional sounds that pass quickly, leaving behind a thin silence that feels almost transparent. The body shifts lower against the pillows, feeling the slight coolness of the sheets against the skin. Nothing has been resolved. Nothing has been fixed. The bill remains under the book, waiting for morning light. The stack of clothes stands complete for tonight, modest and steady, a quiet testament to hands that kept moving even while thoughts wandered elsewhere. The room holds its shape. The air remains soft. And before lying fully down, one last small item from the corner of the basket is lifted and folded carefully into place. The night moves deeper without announcing itself, and the room seems to settle into a narrower circle of awareness. The folded stack at the foot of the bed casts a softer shadow now, edges blending into one another under the dim light. The bill on the nightstand remains untouched, its corner still visible beneath the book, patient in its quiet square shape. The warm cup, long emptied, stands beside it like a small witness to the evening. There is a different kind of stillness in this hour, not the busy quiet of finishing tasks but the gentler quiet that comes when nothing more is expected for the day. The body lies back more fully now, shoulders easing into the mattress, feet brushing against the cool sheet. Thoughts drift in and out, sometimes returning to numbers and due dates, sometimes wandering to smaller things like the way a sleeve was smoothed or how neatly the last towel aligned with the stack. Comparison tries once more to enter, softer than before, almost uncertain of its place in the dim room. It brings with it faint images of other lives moving forward with visible momentum. Yet here, the only movement is the steady rise and fall of breath, the quiet ticking of time that does not demand an audience. The bill does not glow or fade. It simply exists beside the book, sharing the same surface. The memory of the bathroom light lingers, that soft yellow circle reflected in the mirror earlier in the evening. Steam had blurred the reflection then, hiding small lines and worries for a moment. Now the mirror is dark, holding only the outline of the doorway and the faint suggestion of space. Nothing in that reflection judged the paper in your hand. Nothing in it compared one household to another. Gratitude, if it appears at all, feels less like a feeling and more like a soft noticing. The folded clothes are not grand achievements. They are simply what was done tonight. The bill is not a symbol of failure or success. It is a part of living that returns month after month, asking only to be acknowledged in its time. The room holds both without commentary. The body turns slightly onto one side, adjusting the pillow, feeling the gentle stretch along the back. The stack of clothes remains steady at the edge of vision, not demanding to be admired. The book on the nightstand rests calmly over the bill, as though offering a thin layer of cover until morning. Outside, a single car passes, its sound washing briefly against the window before fading into thin silence. There is no grand resolution waiting in this space. No sudden clarity about who is ahead or behind. The measuring quiets not because it has been argued with, but because there is nothing left to measure in this hour. The day has narrowed to fabric folded, water run, paper unfolded and set aside. The rest can wait for daylight. The hands reach once more toward the stack, almost without thinking, and find a small cloth that had slipped from the pile earlier. It is lifted, edges aligned carefully in the dim light, the fabric cool against the fingertips. The motion is simple and unhurried. And that last small piece is folded gently into place. The light in the bedroom is dimmed further, not fully off, just lowered enough that the corners of the room begin to dissolve into shadow. The folded stack at the foot of the bed becomes a softer shape, more suggestion than detail. The bill remains on the nightstand, half covered, its white edge faint against the darker wood. The warm cup stands beside it, cool and quiet, holding the memory of heat that has already passed. This hour feels narrower than the rest of the evening, as if the walls have drawn slightly closer, not in pressure but in closeness. The air carries a thin silence, almost delicate, broken only by the distant sound of a late car passing somewhere beyond the window. The body lies still, aware of the mattress supporting weight without complaint. There is nothing more to sort tonight. In the darkened bathroom, the mirror reflects almost nothing now, only a faint outline of the doorway and a shadow where the sink rests. Earlier, numbers were held up in that reflection, considered briefly under soft yellow light. Now the paper waits in another room, its presence steady but subdued. It does not call out in the night. Measuring feels far away here. It does not fit easily into this quieter space. There is no scale laid across the bedspread, no chart projected onto the ceiling. There is only breath moving in and out, slow enough to notice. The stack of clothes stands completed for today, modest and sufficient, without comparison to any other household beyond these walls. Gratitude, in this deepening stillness, does not announce itself. It rests instead in the simple fact of being here, in a room that holds folded cotton and unpaid paper together without dividing them into categories of success or failure. The hands that folded those clothes lie open now on the blanket, no longer adjusting edges or smoothing seams. The night does not ask for improvement. Outside, the traffic has thinned to almost nothing. The thin silence settles more fully, wrapping the room in a quiet that feels less like absence and more like space. The bill remains where it was placed, waiting for morning light to give it sharper lines again. For now, it is just one pale shape among others in the dark. The body turns slightly, pulling the blanket higher, feeling the faint texture of fabric against skin. There is a gentle awareness of effort already given today, not measured against anyone else's efforts, just remembered in the small movements that filled the hours. The warm cup on the nightstand stands empty, its work finished for now. Nothing dramatic happens. No new understanding arrives at the edge of sleep. The mirror remains dark. The stack remains steady. The paper waits quietly beneath the book. A final small cloth, almost overlooked near the pillow, is lifted in the low light, its corners aligned by touch rather than sight. It is folded slowly, carefully, and placed at the top of the stack before the hand rests again in the quiet. The light is turned down until it is almost gone, leaving only a faint glow along the edge of the nightstand. The folded stack rests at the foot of the bed, no longer needing attention, its lines softened by shadow. The bill remains beneath the book, quiet and unchanged, waiting for a different hour. The warm cup stands empty beside it. Breath moves slowly in the dark. The thin silence of late night settles more completely, wrapping the room in something steady and unhurried. There is no measuring here, no comparing against distant rooms or imagined numbers. Only the gentle weight of blankets, the faint scent of soap in the cotton, and the small awareness of having been present for these ordinary tasks. Nothing has been solved. Nothing has been improved beyond its simple place. The mirror holds darkness. The paper waits. The stack remains. A hand reaches once more toward the top of the folded clothes, adjusting one corner that has slipped slightly out of line. The fabric yields easily under careful fingers. And in the quiet, one last small piece is folded softly into place.